We are back. Sorry, I had to take a little nap there in my Abdul Carter era. I'm sorry. Don't worry. Unlike Abdul Carter, I'm not only here for the run through, I'm here for the whole show. I'm awake, very caffeinated today, and ready for Empire State of Sports on WIUR Radio. Yankees deja vu offseason move, Jets quarterback chaos, Mets, same old dysfunctional Mets for them. Knicks having problems in the clutch without Jalen Brunson. Iona basketball might actually be on the verge of something special. Let's start with a little rant on the Giants before I dive into them a little bit more. Bring that down. All right, let's start with the Giants. Like I said, because every week is a new chapter in this tragic comedy. This would be a great Shakespeare play back in the day for the Giants. Definitely a tragedy watching week after week, everything crash and burn for them. Got to see that up close thanks to Fox Sports. Very grateful for that opportunity. I was on the field working production for them. Got to see Cam Scadaboo rolled right past me. He was screaming. Cam Scadaboo, a lot of drama with him. Going to touch on that at the very end of the show. Think it's a good get out the door topic. Sunday, Giants lost 27-20 to the Packers. Obviously, a game they were meant to lose, but they were in it till the very end. This game really told us everything about the New York Giants as a whole. It was it was a story of effort, discipline, and why this franchise will be forever stuck in one place because they don't know how to evolve. The Giants don't know how to evolve. New head coach. Same story. Same story with the Giants. Jameis Winston put up some pedestrian numbers, 19 for 29, 201 yards, and of course the classic Jameis pick. Can't end the game if you're Jameis Winston without throwing at least one interception. Called that right before it happened. Might have been my fault. Who knows? Streets are talking. Green Bay wasn't explosive. They kept the Giants in that game until the very end. That Hail Mary was pretty much the only thing I saw from Jordan Love that impressed me. On the Packers side, a lot of injuries. MetLife turf. Josh Jacobs hurts his knee. Go figures. MetLife turf. Can confirm. I took a spill on the MetLife turf on Sunday. Very hard, unforgiving. Might just be because I'm clumsy. Might be the turf. Both very, very valid reasonings behind why I fell on the turf. Anyone would tell you I tend to be a little bit uncoordinated. Why I wasn't really good at sports in high school and why I'm doing this. But I love to be here. I do. But the Giants lost because they lack what good teams have. They don't have conviction. They don't have attention to detail and the ability to execute in moments that actually matter. On a day when the NFC playoff picture cracked open, they pretty much slammed the door on themselves. Cowboys Monday kept themselves in the playoff talks. Giants kill any playoff talks that might have happened. Sorry, I switched things around last minute. Giants. I'd like to say that this was another instance of Shane Bowen. He's that I could point it on one person, but the real point is you can't point it on any singular person. These are errors that are happening because of the players on the field, not because of anyone wearing the headset. This is a Giants team that has lacked that locker room conviction. Started to have it with Dart and Scadaboo. When Scadaboo went down, definitely got hurt, but it wasn't completely dead. And then when Dart went down, it pretty much collapsed straight back to where everything started. But Jameis Winston was someone I was really excited to see on Sunday. Ask anyone. Love Jameis, man of the good book. Runs Bible study. I think God is such a huge part in every athlete's life and in everyone's life. Jameis gives all credit to God. He seemed very upset in his post game conference, which was really upsetting to me because Jameis obviously tried to win that game. Wasn't Jameis's fault they didn't win. Had Jalen Hyatt just completely give up halfway through a route. You know, this team definitely fights. You can't say they don't fight every week. They don't quit, but effort without execution is just noise. That's the bottom line for this Giants team. Oh my God, I can't get my chair in a position I like. I apologize. I apologize to everyone. You can't win NFL games, just playing the first 3 quarters, but you can if you're the Denver Broncos playing just 12 minutes every week. Their fourth quarters are absolutely phenomenal to watch week in and week out. But the Giants, they have the opposite scheme, and that's definitely not a recipe for success. Giants make a move at head coach. Brian Dable out, Kafka in. How did Kafka do Sunday? Sorry, I need like tea or something when I'm out here because my throat starts to hurt. Palate starts to get a little dry. You swap Dable for Kafka, have the exact same results. I saw someone on Twitter point out, oh my God, Giants switch head coach, same results. Brought up a question. Did Sunday prove that Dable was never the problem for the New York Giants? Yeah. I would say so. I would say it does. The defense collapsed again. That's on Shane Bowen. That's on the players out on the field. That's on Dexter Lawrence. I'm starting to get worried. Starting to get really worried out there for you, Dexy, because it does not look like you. Something's off. If you're hurt, speak up, because this isn't the same Dexter Lawrence we've seen the past few years. This isn't the best middle linebacker in the league. This is mediocre play at best from Dexter Lawrence. Saw him jump off sides Sunday. Just a bonehead mistake. Like you can't be doing that. Resulted pretty much in the Packers getting that first touchdown, that first drive. Abdul Carter not out there. Had a lot of fans guessing as to the reason why. He got a little sleepy, just like me at the beginning of the show. Got a little sleepy. But, that defensive coverage has been a problem all season long for the Giants. I don't know if the Giants even want to ask the question if Shane Bowen should be on the way out because they just made a change at head coach. I don't think the fact that you got rid of Brian Dable should affect anything at all when it comes to Shane Bowen. If anything, it should help make the decision a little bit clearer to let him go. He doesn't have that defense out there ready every week. The Giants had their defense set up for success for years to come with Wink Martindale. And when they had their falling out, that defense has never truly recovered. And I didn't see any signs this week telling me that the defense is ready to turn the page. So to me, Shane Bowen that's someone I don't mind pointing the blame to, and I haven't been shy about that at all when it comes to him. He's just not the guy out there. There's a former Giant out on the coaching market in Antonio Pierce, would be a perfect fit for the Giants to be their next defensive coordinator. Hope they've made some calls to him. But bottom line is nothing changed with Kafka being the coach. Kafka's debut just equaled the same issues. This team tries, but trying doesn't necessarily correlate directly with winning, and winning is what matters. Abdul Carter, falls asleep, misses walkthrough, gets benched for a drive, then shows up the next night to WWE ringside with Cam Scatterboo. Like I said, going to touch on that whole altercation later and what really upset me about that whole instance. I guess wrestling is real when people want it to be. That's all I'll say. I'll say now. But in terms of Abdul Carter, was sitting the first drive enough punishment for the rookie? I went back and forth with my friend Christian yesterday about the whole situation. I did. Because I feel like the whole coverage of the WWE event got blown out of proportion. But if there's one person I don't think got enough blame, it's Abdul Carter. He absolutely didn't get enough punishment for what he did. Most rookies would sit the whole game for what he did. But this team keeps enabling soft discipline, even without Brian Daboll. So was Daboll really the issue when it comes to, getting the team ready to play week in and week out? Seems not so much. Kind of brings things into perspective when you look at the whole Abdul Carter situation. And yeah, seeing him at that WWE event made it worse for me. That was probably the only issue I did have with that. But the mentality problem is definitely real. It's there for the New York Giants. It might be as bad as the New York Jets in terms of mentality. I feel like I keep repeating myself. Energy stems from the top down. You have a poor leader, you're going to have poor execution on the field. Jalen Hurts gets a lot of flack for the way he plays on the field from his own teammates, from AJ Brown, live on Twitch. But when Cam Scatterboo streams live on Twitch while he's hurt, it's a problem. And by the way, the correct answer to the taco question that he posed, does the taco dominate you or do you dominate the taco? Got to dominate the taco. Got to show the taco who's boss. But yeah, back to Jalen Hurts. That's really something where, yeah, the numbers not there. Nothing special. Don't look great. But he wins. So he gets the team ready every week. But the Giants don't have anyone really to get the team ready. Jackson Dart, getting groomed to be that guy, but he's not that guy yet. He's only a year or two older than I am. It's tough when that's the situation that you're dealing with as a young quarterback. Having to pretty much tear everything down and build it from the ground up. That's a tall task for even a first round draft pick. Drake May didn't have a first good season, but we see the Patriots out there. They're what, 8-2, 9-2 now. On the doorstep of destiny, as my friend Wilds would say. But yeah, this mentality problem really not new for the New York Giants. Daboll didn't fix it. Kafka hasn't fixed it yet. This is the time you teach rookies how to be pros. Um, yeah, and I think that's really where the main issue came for a lot of people when it comes to the whole WWE fiasco is getting the rookies out there prepared to play week in and week out. And when you're at a WWE event after you just took a brutal loss to the Green Bay Packers, obviously not the look you want to have. But instead of teaching these rookies, the Giants are shrugging it off because we're not expected to win. That's exactly the reason why they don't win, because that's the expectation. Moving things over to the Bronx, something happened yesterday that really made me upset. The Yankees bring back Trent Grisham. Isn't the funniest thing I've seen since Brian Cashman said Giancarlo Stanton can't stay healthy and then apologize the next day. Look, Trent Grisham is a fine fourth outfielder for me. Fine. He's athletic. He's a glove first guy, despite all the gaffes he has out there. No one really points towards that. He'll hit the occasional, oh, wow, where did that come from type of homer. But $22 million for someone that just is a year removed from hitting 191 with a 643 OPS, that's not value. That's not upside for Cashman. Cashman, this is another situation. Brian Cashman tries to outsmart the system. My dad keeps bringing up a quote from the end of Moneyball. You can't reinvent the game. Pops, I know you're listening. This is a classic situation of you can't reinvent the game. That's Cashman saying, well, I got fleeced on Montas and IKF and Donaldson, so I might as well double down on depth outfielders who can't hit. Well, listen, that wasn't necessarily what happened. Brian Cashman gave him the qualifying offer, trying to get an extra draft pick, but there's always the risk the player accepts the deal. And in this case, he did, and it's not the player that you want to accept the qualifying offer. Grisham, 2025, career high in home runs, career high in RBIs, career high in average, career high in OPS. Just a year ago, in 2024, let's rewind a little bit, 191 average, 17 home runs, 48 RBIs, 643 OPS. Yankees left field position in 2024, negative 1.3 wins above replacement. Grisham didn't fix the issue in 2024 when the team made the World Series. What makes you think Grisham can be part of this solution this year with a team that has all the holes it does? With a team that's chasing Cody Bellinger, with a team that had aspirations of bringing in a Kyle Tucker? It made me really scratch my head a little bit. And John Heyman, I don't think we're friends anymore, because you were saying Grisham wasn't going to accept the qualifying offer, and then he did. Made me really mad. So John Heyman, you and I, actually John Heyman has me blocked on Twitter anyway. So we're not friends anymore. All right. You went at my buddy Keith last year. I kept somewhat quiet. Did go on air and talk about it. So you know what? I didn't keep quiet. And then shortly after, John Heyman blocked me on Twitter. So, that's life in the media world. You're not going to be friends with everyone. But Aaron Boone tries to be friends with all the players. This is what makes me worry about Trent Grisham this year. If Trent Grisham doesn't play well, is Aaron Boone going to have the humility to admit that they were wrong in bringing back Trent Grisham and playing someone like Jason Dominguez or Spencer Jones? I don't think so. I've seen this year in and year out where Brian Cashman Aaron Boone are hard set on playing with the roster that they have and the roster they thought would be the best in the postseason. You can't think that way because, listen, we saw Miguel Rojas hit a big time home run in the World Series. It really can be anyone, and they can't be hard set on their roster because they really don't have the liberty to do that right now. So, what does this mean for the Yankees roster construction this year? Well, the moves are screaming one thing. Let's run this back. Because re-signing Trent Grisham isn't about Trent Grisham. It's about everything else it blocks or signals. And if you're a Yankees fan, that should terrify you because running it back has pretty much been the mantra for this team. You know, Jason Dominguez, to me, the writing's on the wall that the Yankees organization doesn't think very highly of Jason Dominguez. This is the first domino that really has told me that Dominguez might not be long-term for the Bronx and that the organization keeps floating his name behind closed doors. Was a name floated last trade deadline. You know, not a guy I think the Yankees really have long-term plans for, long-term aspirations, which is unfair to a guy that came up his rookie year, tore it up, and eventually, got hurt, ended his season prematurely. And it was the Yankees' decision to keep him in the minors after that for as long as they did, after they saw his production and pretty much stifled his growth. This was all self-inflicted wounds for the Yankees and their decision-making process. It's kind of like that meme to me where like someone like hits someone else and then he goes, "Oh, who did that?" Um, you can't see bad production after this season, right? On the brink of maybe a lockout. And after the season, if let's say the Yankees win only 82 games, have a very disappointing season, you can't be like, "Oh man, we put our best out there. Like, who did this?" Like, we can't be making we can't be making excuses. Bottom line, can't be making excuses. And this move to me screams they're prepared to make excuses after the 2026 season. Cashman says this doesn't impact Bellinger, but come on. He can say it doesn't impact the Cody Bellinger pursuit, but if Hal is already at $280 million as the productions are at, and Bellinger wants over 215, maybe approaching 250, the numbers don't lie. In terms of a Kyle Tucker dream, mentioned it earlier, forget about it. Dead. The fantasy ship has sailed. Tucker is the unicorn, and they'll never pay for it. Well, Hal Steinbrenner has said he doesn't want to go over $300 million in terms of payroll. And with this Trent Grisham move, makes things nearly impossible to keep things under $300 million. So we'll see. This roster has holes everywhere. They're re-signing spare parts and replacements, not building a contender. Running it back is waving the white flag and really saying we are who we are and we're okay with that. Very disappointing for us Yankees fans. Classic Cashman, the man who tries to outsmart baseball, once again has outsmarted everyone, no one but himself. Listen, I don't think this is a sole thing where we can blame Brian Cashman in terms of running it back. Judge said on October 8th, the day the Yankees got eliminated, "I'd like to run it back with most of the same guys, see what we could do." Listen, when Aaron Judge speaks, the Yankees listen. He's not just the captain, he's the silent GM, the PR department, and the culture thermostat. Judge wants continuity. Cashman wants job security. Boone wants to keep his locker room from mutiny. And because Steinbrenner won't push back, Judge's voice becomes the loudest in the room. It's weak leadership from the front office, strong from Judge, recipe for disaster. All right. So that's it for that block. Coming up, Jets make a QB change. Was it the right call or just panic time from Aaron Glenn? Stick around. That'll be up next after this short ad.
This is WIUR Radio.
Hi, I'm Becca Bittner, the host of Iona University's news show, Good Morning Gales. My co-host, Nick Waltieri, and I cover everything that's going on here at Gale Nation. We give you all the buzzing campus news you need to know before your first cup of coffee every Friday morning. Make sure to check out our morning show, along with our sports show, Gale Zone, on our IUTV Instagram and YouTube. With hosts Cam Woolley and Chris Solaro, you'll get sports updates from the Hines Athletic Center to the big leagues. See you there, and as always, go Gales. Now, back to WIUR.
This is WIUR Radio.
Hi, this is Anthony Carlo, TV news reporter in New York.
Thought that was a different one. I pulled a Chloe. Yeah. So check out any of the IUTV stuff. Do great stuff over there. Work with them on Mondays. Cover some stuff myself over in that territory. Yeah, great stuff over there. Jets. Worst scoring offense in football, worst passing offense in football, most turnovers in football. The Jets aren't just bad, they're historically bad. 13.1 points per game, 32nd, negative 119 point differential, 23 sacks allowed, defense 8th in yards allowed. Offense EPA per play is at negative 0.25. They are legitimately expected to give up points every play. Negative 0.25. That means every play they're expected to give up 0.25 points. Obviously, like, you can't score a decimal place in points. But, like, I think you get, like, where I'm coming from here. Like, this is, like, pretty much, like, you got a set of eyes. You could see this Jets team really is not it. You know, they make a change at quarterback. Tyrod Taylor coming in for Justin Fields. I was listening to WFAN on my way in. And they put it in a way that I think is perfect. Tyrod Taylor, Justin Fields. Spoiler alert, they both suck. They both suck. Fields hasn't had multiple games. Well, no, sorry. Fields has had multiple games under 100 passing yards. That won't win you games. You know, I like to play a game after watching the Jets. What are Justin Fields' passing numbers? And I'll look through them. I don't think it's fake most of the time. How are we... How are we, putting this production out there every week and not admitting that something is wrong? And I think what annoys me the most is the Jets didn't even try and build around Fields' strength, although Glenn claimed that Fields was the QB of the future for the Jets. You know, no design QB runs. The RPO packages were simple and very weak and predictable. Something that Fields would be able to play well under. Saw him play well in Pittsburgh under that RPO play style that they had last season. They forced him into being something he's not, into a pocket passer, and then blamed him for not being one. Listen, Justin Fields was never going to be the guy that was going to get flashy passing numbers. And when you design the offense to be pass reliant like the Jets have, like this new coach, Aaron Glenn, has pretty much forced upon the Jets, is being pass heavy. It's a recipe for disaster. You have to work with what you have. You can't keep going out there week in, week out, seeing that this is the case, that the team has been god awful, having 2 wins on the year, just as bad as my New York Giants, started off 0-7. Like, something's not working. And instead of working around Justin Fields, admitting that his strength is not the pass game and forcing him to pass was a recipe for disaster and a recipe to make his pass game look even worse. Justin Fields, 1,047 yards, 3 touchdown passes on the year. Really crazy to say, 9 interceptions, 59.8 completion percentage, 3 games under 100 yards passing. Tyrod Taylor, not much better. He's 6 for 9 off the bench. And his interception rate, only 1.5% is the best among active quarterbacks, but that's such a small sample size to be judging off of if you're Aaron Glenn and you're bringing in a quarterback in Tyrod Taylor that's pretty much has the same play style as Justin Fields. So to me, the problems are just going to continue, fester, and then get worse for the Jets. The Jets, where QBs go to die. You ever notice how every quarterback who comes to the Jets somehow gets worse? Geno leaves, gets tremendously better with Seattle, obviously having a tough season with the Raiders. Darnold, terrible with the Jets, was a guy that people were looking at in high school. This guy had the raw talent. The Jets were never able to tap into that talent. And every team Darnold has gone to after the Jets has been able to tap into that talent. The Seahawks, I'm sorry. What team was he on last year? The Vikings, and then the Seahawks. And when he plays this well, Darnold playing as pretty much a top 5 quarterback in the league this year. I don't think that's debated among anyone. I hear it's said every week on the show that Darnold is this good. Zach Wilson obviously has not proved anything since he left. And now Justin Fields. And it stems all the way back to Mark Sanchez for the Jets. And maybe even Brett Favre. It's not the player, it's the place. When we come back, Iona basketball is making noise early. Is it time to take the Gales seriously and make a run in March? When we come back on WIUR, the official radio of Iona.
This is WIUR Radio.
Hi, I'm Morgan Beastie from the Ionian, and I hope you're enjoying today's show. Are you looking for the latest scoop on campus news, sports, and more? Check out the Ionian, Iona University's very own award-winning student newspaper. We keep you up to date with everything happening on and off campus. Want to know about the big game, the latest campus event? It's all in the Ionian. Join the conversation. Read, write, and get involved. Visit www.theionian.com. A copy around campus. Stay informed, stay connected. Now, back to WIUR, Iona University Radio.
Well, top of the hour. Iona 4-0 to start the season for the first time since 2021. Time to start taking the Gales seriously. The Knicks having clutch troubles without Jalen Brunson. Time to start worrying for the Knicks and their Eastern Conference championship hopes. The Mets, DFA Frankie Montas. Time to question Steve Cohen. Going to dive into all of that and more as we head into the second half hour of the show. Well, I mentioned our Iona Gales. Was on color commentary Friday. Eventful night for me. Popped my tire. Didn't get home till 3 a.m. Yeah. It was a rough night. But you know what made it better? A Gales victory. All right. Iona has been incredible on the court this season, ranked number 1 in the MAC in scoring, number 1 in field goal percentage, number 1 in 3-point percentage, and number 1 in assists. That's a lot of ones. Because we the ones get the reference. I don't know. I don't know if there's any wrestling fans out there. Oh, Christian would get the reference. He's probably listening. Yeah. So just a little bit of what I saw Friday with that Iona team. Man, are they hungry? Is, I think, the best way to put it. Take a lot of shots. Definitely a reflection of the NBA play style from Coach Giroux. That 3-point percentage, something I pointed to on the broadcast. Take a lot of 3-point shots. When I watch Iona and I watch the Knicks, for example, it's hard to distinguish from the two play styles. Very shot heavy, very aggressive. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. But in the same light, I did get a little frustrated Friday, especially when Iona lost the lead for a little bit there before they ended up winning the game because of the amount of shots they took. There's going to be growing pains with a new coach. Like, they're going to come to act like they're not going to be a thing is definitely really silly to think as a fan. Like, they're going to lose the game at some point. They haven't lost yet, 4-0 for the first time since 2021, as I mentioned earlier. It has me begging to ask the question, is it time to take the Gales seriously? Not time to ask the question yet. But, back to like that style of play, it did frustrate me a little bit because especially like when you're playing a team like Fordham, for example, they're a slow team that, they thrive off of being able to set the shots they take. And when Iona went out there and they were taking that many shots and weren't getting the offensive rebound going into half, I posed the question at halftime, like, hey, is it time to like tone things back a little bit and slow things down? And my broadcast partner, President Robbie Basil here at WIUR, thought pretty much the same thing. Like, might be time to tone things back. And they made that halftime adjustment, went out there, toned it back, and were able to, win the game. But a lot of it had to do with graduate guard CJ Anthony on Friday, has led this team all year, but that wasn't the most recent game. Let's talk about what happened last night. Iona beat Princeton at 89-69. That's not a bad team. That's a Princeton team that just beat the Gales last year, a Gales team that went to the MAC championship, and we absolutely destroyed them last night. Winning by 20 points, that's a outstanding victory for the Gales. Shot 50% from the field. They controlled the ball for a majority of the game last night and got balanced scoring. So is Iona a powerhouse now? Well, I'll tell you what, they definitely moved like a powerhouse. They moved like an NBA team. Space, pace, threes. Big three. They do all of that extremely well. And that's pretty much what controls professional basketball right now. But college basketball is a different beast. Plays a lot more aggressive, plays a lot more defense. Iona's going to have to pick up a little bit more of that DNA. Right now, it's not a problem. But down the line, it really can pose a problem with Iona ranking towards the bottom of the NCAA in almost every defensive category. Like when you face a powerhouse, I point to the game against St. John's on December 13th. I remember that date very well. John Cena's retirement date. For y'all that didn't know, that's going to be the last time. The last time will be now. But it'll be the first time for the Gales when they jump into the rankings and beat St. John's on December 13th. Take Rick Pitino by surprise. Take the NCAA world by surprise. If Iona wins that one. I'm getting ahead of myself. but it's hard not to when this team is 4-0. The defense is still growing, but the culture is real. And I talk about that being a major issue with a lot of these teams, like the Giants. Giants have a lot of talent, and I don't think people give enough credit to that roster that Joe Shine built. This is definitely a good culture to be in. Dandreau came in, was able to build the team from the ground up, only 2 returning players this season. And we've seen the benefits of that. He's been able to mold these players into forces on the court that execute his play style to a T. And it's been incredible to watch as a fan here at Iona. But CJ Anthony proving to be an absolute star. But the biggest game in program history, as I mentioned, St. John's at MSG. Right now, Iona has a very efficient offense, a very weak rebounding margin, and -8, which I mentioned posed an issue Friday against a Fordham team that struggled. So against a really good team like St. John's could pose a bigger issue. Giroux has really marked a culture shift, but they're going to have to keep building upon that if they want to be a powerhouse in the NCAA. Moving across the court to the New York Knicks. Knicks, 8-5, 4th in the East. Listen, coming into the season, the team's expectation was to be either the 1 or the 2 seed. Many people had Cleveland as 1 and Knicks at 2, or Knicks at 1 and Cleveland at 2. That's not the case. Detroit's at the top of the conference right now. Detroit's absolutely tearing it up. And without Brunson, the Knicks look lost in crunch time. So the question is, do the Knicks have a clutch problem? And the answer to me is yes. They shot 1 for 8 versus Miami in clutch time. And there's one guy I really want to point to, and that's Karl Anthony Towns. We brought you in to be the 1B. And I mentioned it was a huge issue going into the year. I mentioned it with the Giannis talks. A lot of that stemmed from the fact that when Brunson was out, Cat wasn't able to take that leap to be the 1A. With Detroit being 13-2 and the Knicks 8-5, they've already dug themselves a little bit of a hole earlier in the year. Entering the year as co-favorites to win the conference. Now they're kind of chasing the pack without Jalen Brunson. I don't think it's time to worry yet for the New York Knicks. A lot of time left, a lot of time to see if Karl Anthony Towns is able to take the leap to be the star behind Jalen Brunson. You can't really hold it against the Knicks that they're struggling in the clutch time without Jalen Brunson, because Jalen Brunson has pretty much been the clutch identity for this Knicks squad. But injuries are very common in basketball. See a lot of players going down with calf injuries, including the most recent victim in Victor Wembanyama. You can't expect all your players to remain healthy throughout the course of a very long season, because it's just foolish to do so. And the Knicks did a lot of work on their bench, and pretty much, they had a trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo in place and decided against it. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that the Knicks' problems didn't really stem from their starting 5, but stemmed from not having the depth to back up the starting 5. And that issue is still apparent, but I think it would be a lot larger for the Knicks if they had pulled off a trade for Giannis. And I think they overall made the right decision there. Moving on. the other disaster in New York. The New York Mets had a very disappointing season this year. I talk about it. Fans talked about them being W-Bob, World Series or bust, or WOB, if you will, World Series or bust. I'm working on it. A lot of people have some really good acronyms there, like SBOB, Super Bowl or bust. I don't think WOB is it. But yeah, getting back to the Mets. The Mets are a weird case for me. They just DFA'd Frankie Montas. They are, kind of in shambles right now with the amount of holes they have on that roster. Have Edwin Diaz, the closer, as a free agent. That's going to cost a lot of money if you want to bring him back. A bullpen that struggled even after acquiring Ryan Helsley at the deadline, as well as there was one other arm they got, but I'm blanking on it right now. This is a team that has a lot of work to do this offseason. And when you lose a pitcher, even if they're Frankie Montas, someone that probably wouldn't be in the playoff starting rotation, but he would be in your regular season starting rotation, it does hurt the team. It definitely hurts the team. But I guess my reaction to Frankie Montas being DFA'd is, man, that guy's stolen a lot of money from New York baseball teams. First, the Yankees, when the Yankees traded for him. And man, that trade, let me touch on that for a second, because that trade bothers me to this day, because the Yankees were aware Frankie Montas had some sort of lingering injury, still pulled off the trade instead of looking elsewhere. Gave up a stud pitcher and JP Sears, who probably will be borderline ace in the next coming years, was one of the better pitchers for Sacramento this year. I almost said Oakland. Yeah, like when they traded for Frankie Montas, and he was making $20 million that year, and they still had to pay him $10 million, even though he didn't make an appearance again after his first two starts with the Yankees, until a bullpen appearance where he blew a game later on that year, and now stealing money from the Mets. Yeah, so I guess lesson learned: never bring Frankie Montas back to New York. Doubt anyone will. See a lot of people behind me. I don't know what's going on back there. I just heard I'm on camera and someone laughed, so I'm assuming they didn't really know. Yeah, my station is my safe place, so people coming by here and disrupting me like that, whatever. It's all right. Moving, staying with the Mets. I called it as a Yankee fan that this would happen, that he would steal money from the Mets. Perfect time to, bring that up. Kodai Senga, in a lot of trade talks. They had the perfect time to move him last offseason, decided against it, gets hurt again this year. The value is still there for Montas, or not for Montas, for Senga, but the injuries are piling up early in his career. And as someone that came over from Japan, and they're not used to that, the 5-man rotation, they're used to pitching one time a week. See injuries like that happen all the time. As a Yankees fan, saw it happen with Masahiro Tanaka. It was something the Mets should have expected. To think Kodai Senga was an ace was foolish for the Mets. Kodai Senga is not Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He's not a guy that has showed, promise in a Japan World Series. If you don't know, in the Japanese World Series, Yamamoto had a complete game there and then does it twice here in America with the MLB. Someone that was pretty much carried the Dodgers on their back in the World Series in terms of pitching. Yeah, Kodai Senga was never that. To think he was completely outlandish. The Mets in dire need of an ace, in dire need of a lot of help. We'll see what they do there. When we come back, got some wrestling. I'm excited for this topic. I've been hinting at it all show.
City and proud alum. If you're looking for a career in media, Iona is the place to be. From internships to real-world experience, Iona's media program is unprecedented. Take it from an industry professional who made it in the biz.
Now back to WIUR, Iona University Radio.
Oh, yeah. I mentioned a lot about how this media program is absolutely incredible. Thankful to all the staff here. Take it from the industry professional. Take a look at Iona. All right. So my last topic, pretty much an out-the-door topic. Not going to... I might have been live for an hour by the time this is done. I'm not sure. Went live a little earlier than 12:30. So, the Giants, back to them, lose 27-20, have a rookie miss a meeting by sleeping. Jameis mid, defense collapses. You know the drill. You know the whole issue with the Giants. Abdul Carter oversleeps, walkthrough, bench to drive, shows up at WWE, rookie mistake, but Giants handled it a little soft. Now, the whole WWE outrage, let's relax a little bit. My guy Cam Scadaboo should have never had to tweet yesterday trying to defend himself. I feel so bad for my guy Scat. Scat's a guy I think that a lot of fans, he's a fan favorite. He definitely is. Dealing with that foot injury, seen at WWE, getting into let me make this very clear, heavily scripted altercation with the Judgment Day. If you don't know, the Judgment Day, a small faction in WWE. I would compare them to Degeneration X, if anyone knows who that is either, with Shawn Michaels, Triple H, all of them. Man, let the kids have fun. Let the kids have fun. Scat put it perfectly. I'm making the best out of a bad time. And I think that's really crucial for a rookie, especially, to do that. And, Scat shows up injured, gets involved in that scripted angle, crowd goes nuts, and suddenly the media acts like he's in danger of breaking his foot again. Listen, it's entertainment. He wasn't going toe-to-toe with Brock Lesnar in the ring. I'd say he didn't even get as involved as Jalen Brunson did, coming off a hand injury, which people were worried that he hurt his hand again. I was there when that happened. It's ridiculous to me. These guys are allowed to have fun. They're allowed to live. Calling it unprofessional and career risking is ridiculous to me. The only thing unprofessional is pretending the Giants lost because a rookie popped the crowd at Raw. Absolutely ridiculous to me. That's all I got for today. Definitely we had a lot to go through today. Glad you all stayed tuned. From WWE altercations to classic Giants losses, the Mets and Yankees in disarray. We'll see where all that goes next week on Empire State of Sports, live on WIUR from 12:30 to 1:30. I'm Landon Popovic, signing off.